Welcome to episode 20 of the One Life Theory podcast. My name is Rajiv. Today is sort of a special episode, and it's got nothing to do with the bird above my head. It's sort of a roundup of all of the past 19 episodes in a way. And for a change, it is not a summary of the 8-step process. I think I have talked enough about the 8-step process, and if you're not yet clear, I urge you to spend the probably approximately around 120 minutes, a couple of hours to get through from episodes 1 to 17. It's a bit more of a free-flowing episode, like the last two episodes, around the trends and personal value system. But this is sort of a summary. It is sort of maybe picks off from many of the points across the 17 episodes, but also has its own flavor to it. And this is a good segue into what is going to be season 2, a new phase of my own life from tomorrow. But I thought from next week, it's going to probably be a slightly different format. So this episode, which is what I call the 10 life truths, is a nice segue. So without any further ado, let's get started on what I believe are the 10 life truths that are applicable to anyone across age, demography, whatever your background is, whatever your life stage, wherever you are on Maslow's hierarchy, doesn't matter. I think a lot of them would be applicable to any of you. So let's get on to those 10 life truths. Okay, the first one. This is that for perspective, you are nothing for the universe, right? And obviously, we're all in a self-inflicted ego match, but really for the universe, in terms of time, in terms of space, you are nothing. You are literally a second in its entire radar. It's been around for 13.2 billion years, and just the size of the universe is so massive. You can be the wealthiest person in the world, you can be the most important person you think you are, but for the universe's purpose, you are nothing. The universe will function absolutely fine after you disappear. The universe has been functioning absolutely fine till you came into the picture. So you will be forgotten in a whiff, even by the people that know you, by the people around you. So understand that perspective because it's important. Number 2. Having said that, your own life is important for you, right? And that span of 80 years is all that you have here. And maybe not even 80 years. If you're already 40, you probably have another 40 years at max of useful life. And that part only you can live. You cannot live someone else's life. Someone else cannot live your own life, right? And that is important because that one life that you live is what you can live it up and just go, better to burn out than to fade away, as Kurt Cobain said. And you have to live that life up. Otherwise, what's the point of this existence? Because you're wasting time. The third point there is even within that one life, only the current moment is true, not the past, not the future. Corona has very clearly come and said, screw all the planning. The past is just nostalgia or baggage. And beyond that, there's absolutely no purpose of the past, right? You can't go change it. So only the current moment. And for example, the current moment, I'm just, talking to my own phone and talking to all of you. And that's the only moment. And if I'm not completely in this moment, I'm wasting my life, right? So this moment is all you have. Without distraction, can we live that moment? That's the third point. Now, if that's what you have, the fourth point is unless you love this particular moment and what you're doing particular moment, you're going to not be able to pull along, right? I mean, there's only so much willpower that all of us humans have. And if you have to put effort to live a particular moment, whether that's a relationship, whether that's a job, whether that's whatever you do, you're not going to have the willpower to do it for too long. So you have to start loving whatever you're doing in full glory, right? And the only way you can do that is with intent. Start loving. It could be, for example, I hate exercise, right? And I used to hate it. Now I've started liking it, and maybe in some future time I'll start loving it, right? So until you actually start loving every single thing that you either have to do or you are doing, you will not like that aspect of life. So the only way to live in that moment is to love that particular moment and whatever you're doing. The fifth part is with love comes happiness, sadness, ups, downs, success, failure, right? And all of this, at that particular moment, go all in, right? Because you're going to experience that success, you're going to experience that failure. Laugh out, cry out, do whatever, do those extremes in that particular moment because you can't really stifle it, right? And go all in because that's the purpose of life, right? Living that moment with full love, and you're going to experience that highs and lows with the flow that comes with it. That's the fifth point. But the sixth point also says if you're going to, go through all of this, take a step back so that you also look at all of this with some level of balance, right? Because if you get too addicted to it, right? Or if you live in fear or if you live in guilt in terms of just too much happiness, too much sadness, that entire addiction can just screw your mind, right? So make sure that you're taking a step back wherever you can and allocate times, whether that's meditation, whether that's reflection, whether that's just writing, whatever it is. And sometimes, if there are things happening around you which are just not something that you can take stock on, you just can't predict, or you just have no handle on, use a stoic philosophy, right? Because for balance, you need to play different games or different strategies to get that balance. And balance always comes by taking a step back, and so allocate time to take a step back. And sometimes you get the balance within a day, sometimes it takes maybe a week, maybe even a year, right, to get that balance. Whatever it is, just make sure that you allocate time for that balance. That's the sixth point. Now, having said that, I think humans overall have infinite potential, right? In terms of anything that they want to do, whether that's to love infinitely, to construct, to build, to create, expose out just all of their talents. I think we all are able to do magic if we put our mind to it. Sometimes we are probably not, in a state of mind where we can, and we need to take external help. But let's say we're able to do that. We all have infinite potential, right? And we are all built to do something uniquely, and we have to, the entire process of life is to sort of figure out what is it that we are suited to do uniquely. And once we figure that out, and it could be multiple things over a span of time, we just have to focus and use that potential to do that. And once you realize that, then comes point 8, where you have to embrace change and you have to put it in action. You can't just think that, I have this unique ability. Unless you take that first step, whatever it is, right? That first line of code, join some place, build a company, whatever it is, right? In terms of figuring that first step out to move things forward, and don't be in your comfort zone, because unless you actually want to realize if you want to realize your potential, you can't be in a comfort zone that you've created, a cocoon you've created. So break that cocoon out, embrace change, because unless you actually change, you don't know whether you're being challenged enough. So that's the eighth, truth of life. You have to really embrace change, and that's the only true progress. Just go build stuff out. The ninth part is, really for me, in all of this, the only true duty that we have as humans is to be good, be respectful, be nice, support a cause, don't judge others, because this whole honesty, transparency, somewhere in all of this, people have, even in one life, right? All of this maybe sounds selfish at some level, but the whole point of whatever I'm saying is to be of service to people. And somewhere in that process, I think the whole business world, or whatever we have learned, I think there's a lot of great examples, but there are also examples where people have taken shortcuts. Please do not do that. In the long term, nothing is worth it, right? So make sure that you are doing it the right way, and in that process, just help people. Don't be that one person who will come and poke holes into someone. That's there are enough people to do that. Try to see if you can help them, or at least move on, right? And then forgive, just make sure that you treat humans. I think all humans have good parts to them, even someone who is really screwed up badly. So I would rather that it sounds, very utopian at some level, but I would rather subscribe to this philosophy and still get disappointed, rather than subscribe to the philosophy that everyone is screwed, or people are screwed, or people are not trustworthy. I operate at 100% trust to start with, and you come break my trust, right? That has always worked for me. The 10th point is, all of this is a story, unfortunately, all of it, legacy, institutions, religion, marriage, corporations, even whatever I'm telling you right now, this is all a story, right? And we're just telling all of these stories to keep ourselves at bay. But it's okay, because the single biggest skill set that all of us humans have is actually the storytelling ability. Otherwise, it's very difficult to justify existing in this world with so many different things if you don't tell these stories. So it's okay to tell these stories. Believe in your own story. Don't poke holes into someone else's story, because you have no idea as to where they are coming from. Try to empathize with their story. As long as that story is not causing harm or damage to anyone else, I think that's fair. You don't need to subscribe to this one life philosophy, or you may just subscribe to one or two of these points. It doesn't matter. Just go live your story. My entire point with all of these 10 points is that I want to live this story that I am saying to the best of my knowledge, to the best of my ability. I know I have screwed up on multiple of these in the past, but again, from today, what I'm trying to live is to live this story really well, to sort of share my experiences. This whole One Life Theory podcast, whatever, till episode 20, and going forward is also about just sharing all of these experiences. And let's see, in this process, I'm going to also talk to a lot of people who have different kinds of experiences and share those over the coming episodes. As I said, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, starting a new chapter in life. And let's hope that I keep this podcast on and talk about a lot of other things far more in depth. Until the next episode, whenever that is in the coming weeks, see you then.